The CGA Tour, a podcast unlike any other. Now your host, Calvin Alexander.
Hey Cowboy fans, today's episode is brought to you by Oakley Burklow, your go-to independent insurance agent and proud OSU alum. Oakley helps with home, auto, life, and business insurance. Working with multiple top-rated insurance companies to find you the right coverage at the right price. Licensed in Oklahoma and Arkansas. Call 918-280-9068 or email oakley.burklow@connectmyinsurance.com. Personal service, honest advice, and a fellow poke helping you protect what matters most.
Welcome back to the latest episode of the CGA Tour podcast, hosted by myself here, Calvin Glenn Alexander. And today I'm joined by a frequent recurring guest here, good friend of the podcast, and Tyler Adams. Tyler's Takes, wherever you're at on social media, of WWLS. Tyler, how's it going?
It's going good. I know we're going to be talking a lot of good and bad things going on with OSU right now. Football going positive, and I know we'll get into basketball, but I'm getting nervous. Getting nervous
for sure. I think that's definitely worthwhile. I haven't had you back on since Eric Morris got hired, which seems like a lifetime ago, just because there's all this information flowing. But you know what? It wasn't necessarily that long ago. I mean, we're not in the second full month of Eric Morris hiring. So I want to cover that, of course, and then talk about a little bit of hoops drama, 1-3 in conference play. Granted, we had to go up against an NBA draft pick last night. Whenever you're listening to this is recording this on January 14th. So to start out with, got to ask you, Morris hiring, how do you feel about it overall? Has your position or ideas changed at all about the Morris hiring since it happened, in this kind of 6 or so weeks past?
No, not at all. Eric Morris, I was very clear. Eric Morris was my number one guy. When Gundy was fired in September, it was probably about a month before I really was like, all right, who's my guy? Because there was just endless, possibilities of who was going to be the next head coach of Cowboy football. And then it was probably about October. I was like, this Eric Morris guy is having a pretty good team this year, has a good track record at quarterback. And I was like, Texas ties, Big 12 ties. Look what he's done with Les. So he was my number one guy. And I think it's being proven why. And it's not like I was alone in this. Like, I know there's multiple people who was their number one guy. It seemed universal that, like, hey, this is a guy we all want. And I think right now it's showing why. When coaches get hired and they have the press conference, we always say winning the press conference. And that can only mean so much, because at the end of the day, it's what you do on the football field. It's a result. It's a results-driven business. But boy, did he say the right things at that press conference, or at the introductory, more than a press conference, I guess. He said the right things. And then the portal opens up. You get the big three with Drew Mestemaker, Caleb Hawkins, and Wyatt Young. Then you Miles Coleman, to 15 other North Texas guys. And now, they're starting to build the defense. They started to beef up the offensive line a little, retaining players, Cameron Epps, LaDainian Fields, to name a couple. Malik Charles, I saw, is coming back. I'm just fired up. Yeah. I'm just very optimistic about the future of this program. Look, I'm not going to ever say going 3-9 and then 1-11 and then 0-18 your last 18 Big 12 games was a good thing, because that's not a good thing. But I think we all might look back and say, hey, maybe, if Gundy was going 7-5, 8-4, and it's just like, all right, it's time to move on. The fan base would have been motivated. The boosters would have been motivated to fix it, to get this thing going. But for it to bottom out the way it did, I think that's really just kind of brought in an extra spark of motivation, especially from the boosters. Like, hey, we got to fix this. And the way to fix it is putting in money. And Calvin, I think they're putting in a lot of money right now, because the numbers that I that we're all hearing, Drew Mestemaker has been reported by a couple people now. Robert Allen, Bill Haston, 2 years, $7 million deal. Just absurd. I remember whenever it first got announced that by Poke's report that he committed, I was texting my buddies and, I was like, I bet it's about $2 million a year at most. Yeah, I was wrong on that. And then, just to go out and get these guys, Caleb Hawkins and Wyatt Young, Caleb Hawkins running back, Wyatt Young, the top receiver for North Texas. Those were guys that big programs are going after. Those were guys that SEC and Big Ten schools were going after, and Oklahoma State was able to match the offers. And I also think it's one of those things too, where it goes to show like they believe in Eric Morris. If they didn't believe in Eric Morris, they could have just gone somewhere else. They could have gone to Indiana. They could have gone to Alabama. They could have gone to Auburn. They could have gone to Texas, wherever they were getting recruited by, Oregon, and gotten probably the same or more, or maybe even just a little less. But it's all probably relatively the same. But they chose Eric Morris in the system because they believe in it. And I think that's probably my biggest room for optimism is these North Texas guys obviously believe in Eric Morris, or else they wouldn't have come in flows like they are. And not only do they believe in Eric Morris, they believe in Drew Mestemaker, because they're not going to follow, a guy that they don't believe is their quarterback and a quarterback they want to play for. You want to play for a good quarterback, whether you're in the college or NFL. You want to play for a good quarterback. A good quarterback makes everything better. Good player caller makes everything better. And I think Oklahoma State has those two guys right now.
Yeah, I got to say, I find it weirdly good that he signed only a 2-year deal, that Mestemaker did, because he's looking at it going, after 2 years, I'll be ready for the NFL draft. Like that's what all this lines up for. He didn't sign a 3-year deal. Now, if it's 3 years, who knows, it's more money or less, or whatever the deal is behind the scenes. But he also signed for more money than Sam Leavitt, the number 1 quarterback recruit in the portal, right? He's rumored to get, from at least Sports Illustrated, $3.1 million a year. And got Mestemaker over here making almost the same amount as his head coach, which is just a wild world that 5 years ago, if we were talking about this, I don't think we'd have believed each other, right? Like, hey, we've got a guy who's going to be, we've got a brand new head coach, and also the quarterback who's coming with them is going to get paid money, period.
And Indiana will win the national championship.
Oh, yeah. and Indiana and Chris Signetti will be national household names that everyone will know. But what are we doing? We'll have the second coming of Andrew Luck win the Heisman. Like, okay, what's going on? At least from the interactions on, how he is in interviews and stuff like that.
Like Kirk Cousins, too. It's like crazy. Yeah. Kirk Cousins and Andrew Luck, like, raised a child together. Then you got Fernando Mendoza.
Yeah, he's definitely the goofier dude than I've seen before, but he's awesome. Yeah,
I love him.
He's very on it.
I love genuine people. I love a guy that's genuine, and he seems as genuine as they come.
Oh, 100%. Well, I got to ask you here about, of course, the defense as well, because we got the 3 offensive guys. We've got all those coming in. Cameron Epps, your latest is that he untransferred out from the portal or something, or he's staying. That's a defensive back for us. But really, my question is more, you always need to have a good defense. It doesn't hurt to have a good one. But will that matter necessarily for us, in your opinion? Like, do we just have the offense of 2011 kind of eras where we'll just be trying to outscore a lot of guys and then just really not break our backs every single time we're on defense?
Yeah, man. I'm not going to sit here and act like I've just done film study and stuff on all these defensive guys. I think that would consume all my time because of how many portal guys I've gotten. But getting, what's his name? James Williams from Florida State, the Oklahoma kid, Marion Horn from Texas Tech, the cornerback, then getting, some of the North Texas guys, some of their better defensive players they've gotten there. They've kind of really beefed up that, they're kind of really beefing up the safety, or not the safety, the secondary, and then, the front seven, just kind of as we keep trudging along here in the transfer portal. And I think the defense is obviously going to be a much more of a rebuild. It's easier to, I don't want to say it's easier to, it's easier for Eric Morris, Drew Mestemaker to rebuild this offense than it will be this defense. This defense has, I don't want to say a long way to go, because they were good they finished good last year. They didn't start good, but they finished good last year. But I think this defense is going to be a rebuild. I don't think you can I think you can build an offense out of a transfer portal and have them click pretty fast, especially when a lot of these guys played together last season. And the quarterback knows the system. But the defense, I think, is going to be a little bit more of a rebuild. Now, I could also be biting my words, and I hope I am. I hope I'm eating my words come mid-October, where we're like, wait, this defense is in the top half of the Big 12 right now, But I can see a world where that's not the case, just because I think just rebuilding a defense like they are is going to be tough. And I don't know if you're wanting to get an expectation or not, but like right now, I think, I keep getting asked, and I'm sure you are too, just by friends, and you're asking your friends, I'm asking my friends, like, what is our expectation next year? It's too early to say right now, but where we stand in January, what is our expectation right now? Unless I just keep kind of saying like, hey, if they go 5-7, if they go 6-6, number one, that's a tremendous step up from 1-11. No matter how you look at it, that's a tremendous step up from 1-11. But if they're losing games, 41-36, I think that's going to be a lot easier of a pill to swallow than if they're losing games 41-10. So this defense is. Look, I mean, I'd love to talk to some of the real beat writers that are following this team religiously. That's their everyday job, following it more than me and you are. Like a Scott Wright, Marshall Scott, of the world, Zach Lancaster. I'd love to hear what their thoughts, because they probably are a little bit more in tune on this. But I think the defense could be a little bit more of a rebuild. But I think as long as this offense is putting up points next season, I think the fans will understand and be patient with the defense.
Well, on that note here, talking about the offense a little bit more, who's been your favorite transfer one you're most excited to see out there, except for Drew Mestemaker? I think that's the obvious one, right?
The guy you got up there in the graphic, Caleb Hawkins, man. I think this guy has potential to be a really, really special player. I mean, true freshman last year, led the nation in touchdowns as a running back. I mean, I think he has a chance to be very special. Now, the offensive line, you got to beef up the offensive line, which, they've gotten guys, the Jacob Sexton, the Deer Creek kid, played for Oklahoma, he's an NFL guy. If he stays healthy, he's an NFL guy. He just, it reminds me, it's complete vice versa of Trace Ford to me, where, they're local, they're from Edmonds. Trace obviously started off at OSU, kept getting hurt, needed a change of scenery, went to OU, kind of same with Jacob Sexton. Went to OU, was a starter 2 seasons ago now, I guess, in 2024. But was hurt in 2023 whenever he was a starter, got hurt this year. So it's just, it's one of those things where I think he just needs a change of scenery, but I think he's going to be a great addition for this offensive line. So you got to beef up the offensive line, obviously, to have a running game, but I think this Caleb Hawkins, I think he has a chance. I mean, I've watched his highlights, and I think he has a chance to be very, very good. So he's definitely, and then Wyatt Young as well. I mean, the big three, I mean, I know you said without Mestemaker, I mean, obviously he's everyone's number one. And then it's just kind of the big three from North Texas: Drew Mestemaker, Caleb Hawkins, and Wyatt Young. I'm so excited to watch those guys ball out.
Yeah, I am as well. I got to say, Miles Coleman is kind of a name.
Yeah, Miles Coleman as well.
I know Carson Colby talked about him on the latest Pistols Firing podcast, or one that was recently put out. And that got me a little more excited too, that it's not just, hey, there's one receiver, one running back. It's like, all right, like we've got, last I checked, 17 transfers from North Texas. So they're Signetti numbers when he brought over 13 from JMU in that first year, Indiana. Yeah, we're flirting with that, if not more. But last I also checked, we had more transfers from Power 4 than we did from just North Texas overall. So you're bringing in a wide spread of talent here with a lot of different skill sets, of course, and that's offense and defense. I love the fact that, hey, we're bringing in more running backs into the room. We're bringing in all these backups, and that we do have a backup quarterback. Granted, it's from UMass, which did not win a game last year from what I remember, but still, the last quarterback to have a full season without missing a game was all the way back in, I think, 2018, 2019 with Nog. Yeah, so we always need a backup, just in case. Maybe the offensive line can hold it together just that much better, and Morris is drawing up and scheming it all up, because Mestemaker didn't miss a game last season, but I'm going to be knocking on wood for the rest of the time that I end up editing this and talking the rest of the podcast here underneath the table to make sure I'm not jinxing anything, because heavens know it doesn't take too much to jinx an Oklahoma State quarterback from getting injured a little bit.
No.
With that said, on Mestemaker, is the story not just a little bit odd? I know you're more of a narrative guy here, and I want to ask, do you ever remember hearing of the guy who was known as a punter, and then all of a sudden just first year into college football after playing for his high school freshman team, coming in and just taking the world by storm, it seems, being a household name throughout the state of Oklahoma and Texas? Of course, definitely Oklahoma State fans know Drew Mestemaker, but do you ever remember kind of a story like this where he just comes in as completely unrecruited, he's a walk-on? He won the walk-on Heisman of the year last year because he was such This is not a Fernando Mendoza where he was at Cal and was recruited and was, a couple star player. This is absolutely from nothing, right?
I mean, imagine telling Drew Mestemaker 3 years ago when he was the backup quarterback his senior year, hey, in 3 years, you're going to be playing big boy Power 4 football, making $7 million in 2 years and setting yourself up for life. And then, hopefully on a fast track to an NFL career as well. I mean, it's crazy. Hey, look, man, like I can't give you any specific names, but, we've all heard stories of left tackles and defensive tackles, linebackers and running backs. They're like, oh, they didn't start playing football until they're 17 years old, because you can start football late. You have to have skill to play football, obviously, but it's not like basketball where you have to develop that skill with practice for years and years and years. No, you can pick up, if you are just an athletic big guy, you can pick up playing offensive line when you're 17 and try not to be a Hall of Fame type guy. That's happened. We have examples of that. Again, I don't have any names on the top of my list, but I'm sure we can go find 15 guys in the NFL that didn't start playing football until their senior year of high school. But none of those guys are quarterbacks. Because quarterback is like the basketball player, is like the football player, where it's like, no, you have to have your reps. You have to have been doing this for a long time to have success. And I know Drew Mestemaker played quarterback in high school, but he didn't start. It really is one of the most fascinating stories. And I think most of the college football world, if you watch college football like me and you do, now, if you're a casual college football fan, you probably don't know the story of Drew Mestemaker. But I think a lot of like college football diehards like us probably know the story of Drew Mestemaker, that he didn't start because of the year he had this year. But I think that story is going to get amplified over the next 2 years. Just being at a bigger brand, playing bigger football. He has a chance to expose himself for the better, just with name recognition, everything, playing for Oklahoma State compared to North Texas. And I think a lot of people are going to learn this story, and we're going to see like an ESPN College Game Day special on it or something within the next 2 seasons, because it is remarkable. And it's crazy how just Eric Morris was just able to find this guy, or he was able to find Eric Morris, and they were just able to team up, and here they are. Because, yeah, like I said, like you'll see examples of this with football players for a lot of positions. You don't see it with quarterbacks. I mean, hell, Brandon Aubrey was a college kicker at Notre Dame, graduated, was playing professional soccer in Frisco. It was like, I'm going to give kicking a shot. So there's an example right there. But quarterback, you just don't see that, and it's fascinating and it's crazy, and it's I don't know. I've never seen anything like it. And to be frank, like I don't want to just be caught up in the moment. But will we ever see anything like this again? I don't know. I don't know if we'll ever see a quarterback coming in just that was a 0-star recruit, walk on, that didn't even start in high school, and just come in and take the world by storm.
Yeah, the names that I was like kicking around, it's like, all right, Antonio Gates or and other guys like that.
Jimmy Graham was he a guy like that?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, all like big tight ends, like, hey, let's teach you to run some routes over, a season or so, but you're already 6'8" or whatever it is, right? You're already like, you topped out in basketball. You're already an elite athlete. Like Drew Mestemaker, I don't want to take anything away from him, but I think if he and I stand side by side, he's for sure an athlete, but you wouldn't necessarily go, oh, he's like the best quarterback in the entire nation. Like, as a quarterback, you can be Kyler Murray, where you can be an incredibly fast dude, but like, you can be 5'11", or you can be 6'3", and, if Drew Mestemaker's walking down the street and my wife sees him, probably thinks that he's a halfway good looking guy, but doesn't necessarily think, oh, he plays professional sports.
Yeah.
There's not like that, like immediacy, whereas a tight end, It's just,
a real athlete, like, and I'm not saying Drew Mestemaker's not a real athlete, but like, like an athlete when you see one. And I was saying, he's 6'5", but there's a lot of 6'5" people walking around that aren't college football quarterbacks.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, the one other one is Baker Mayfield, but Baker played a bunch of high school football.
Yeah, he was a state champion in Texas.
Yeah, he was getting recruited. I mean, he came on to walk on at OU, but like, that's more circumstantial because Texas Tech, I think, blocked the transfer than anything else. There's always the exceptions to the rule, but like Mestemaker's story is just one that's incredible that I hope we're seeing College Game Day cover it next year, maybe, or this year, I guess now, but maybe it's the Oregon game, second game of the season. College Game Day comes to Stillwater. Fingers crossed on that one, although probably a little far-fetched here. That'd be a real quick turnaround for the Oklahoma State program. 111.
It has to be Tulsa 100-0.
Yeah, I mean, a real tall ask, but the wish is there. The thought is out there in the world. College game day. Come hit me up here if you want more ideas. I got more of them for sure. I want to talk to you as well here about hoops. I saved it for the last in the podcast because you know what? The next game we've got is at 9 o'clock on a Saturday, like 9 p.m. What are we doing? We're tipping off in Gallagher at 9 p.m. on a Saturday night. I can't imagine that's going to go over too well.
News to me.
I'm pretty darn sure it's a
Grant, I have not kept up with the schedule. Like I know our next game is against K-State. So yeah, that is okay. Yeah, I'm looking at it now, 9 p.m.
Yeah, it's.
I didn't even know that game was at home. I just knew the next game was K-State. I didn't know if it was in Manhattan. I didn't know if it was in Stillwater. Yeah, we can talk about it. We can talk about basketball. We can talk about it.
I mean, it's one I've checked several times. I'm like, are we not playing like Arizona State there or something? And it's just a weird deal where it's 2 hours or an hour or whatever, where it's at 8 p.m. Like, all right, I mean, I guess all the students can just go straight to the barge thereafter. Not like they wouldn't anyway.
They're gonna be hammered by the time they get there at 9 p.m.
Yeah, I mean, pregame, come to the game, then go back out to wherever you were pregaming at, or finish your night off. So it'll be midnight when that game. By the time you're walking out of GIA, bar's got to stay open an extra hour to help out here. Last night's game against Baylor, I think you and I both went to the Oklahoma City Thunder game last night.
I was there.
So I'm not going to ask about a bunch of X's and O's from the Baylor game last night. But I do want to ask you, what's the feel for like hoops so far this season? Kind of expectations? Are you loving Steve Lutz? Kind of just an overall, like, what do you think of Oklahoma State basketball right now?
Yeah, I mean, am I as confident now as I was in early December? No, I'm not. Do I still think this team has potential to be a tournament team? Yeah, I do. Would I put money on it? Probably not. I probably wouldn't. Not saying I wouldn't put money on it because I think I'd lose money or anything, but I'd just be like, I think it's 50-50 right now, and I just wouldn't be too confident. I like to put money on stuff I'm confident in, even though it doesn't work out, a lot of the time. But yeah, I mean, this team, their defense is really hit and miss. That UCF game was, they were slow defensively, and then they kind of turned it on with the last 8 minutes of the second half, and put UCF to bed with one of the just drunkest endings ever. It was just typical college basketball, just dumb mistake by both teams, such a dumb mistake. Obviously, the Texas Tech game was just, I think a lot of these guys did not realize what it's like to play on the road in the Big 12 against that Texas Tech team. And I think they're just kind of like, whoa, because that was a lot of their first game. Iowa State, I was driving. So I haven't really watched the last two games. I was driving to Dallas on Saturday during the Iowa State game, and I was listening to the radio broadcast. But listening to the radio broadcast and watching the game are kind of two different things. One's just like, all right, you have a grasp of what's going on. The other's like, you can see what you're seeing. And then last night I was at the Thunder game, but last night just looked more of like Baylor just couldn't miss, which I don't know if that was a contested. They're making contested shots, or if the defense was just pathetic. I chose to not really watch the highlights, or I tweeted out last night because OU got blown out too, and I just tweeted. I was like, "Hey, Thunder big win against San Antonio. Let's just ignore the fact that OU and OSU basketball played tonight." So I literally have just chosen to ignore this Baylor game. Have not watched highlights. I read the box score, and that's it. I was just like, this one, out of sight, out of mind. Let's focus on K-State, because this K-State game, look, doing must-wins in January is far-fetched. Kind of like a must-win. Because if you lose this game and you start, 1-4? Would it be 1-4 in conference play?
Yeah.
Losing to K, you have to win your 50-50 home games. You have to win your home games where it's not, Iowa State or it's not Arizona in your home building. You have to win those games. And so this Kansas State game is massive because if they lose this game, then I think it's an uphill climb to make the tournament. It's a very big uphill climb to make the tournament. But if they win this game, then, you're staying afloat because you just have to stay around 500. You just have to stay around 500 in this conference. So you got to win this K-State game on Saturday at 9 p.m. Jeez. So yeah, but with Steve Lutz, you asked about Steve Lutz. Look, I'm still all in on Steve Lutz. I mean, he's a year and a quarter into his tenure. I think the key to him, and I think he might even tell you this, is he needs to get his high school guys in here. building teams out of the portal, it can work. We have seen it work. We saw Arkansas do it last year with John Calipari. We've seen Indiana football do it. You can build teams out of portals, but we've also seen a lot of times where it's like, hey, building a team out of the portal isn't necessarily just a recipe for success every time. It's not some guaranteed hit. And this team is a team built out of the portal. And I know that there's a lot of exciting high school guys. You got the Wazo kid coming in next season. So I think it's really just starting to get the high school guys and building in with the portal and just trying to get like a culture going and everything. So I think, as long as they get 7 wins in the Big 12, even if they, barely miss a tournament, I think that's a successful year 2. But year 3 next year will be a massive year for them. And it's a massive year for the program because, look, man, if Steve Lutz doesn't work out, and you're doing this all over again, where does this Cowboy basketball program rank? Especially now that it seems all this money's going to football. Steve Lutz is going to have to, really, really, and I know he has. I know for a fact that he's gone out of his way to get money into that program. But you got to start winning eventually. And again, it's way too early. They could go out and they could win at every single one of their games from here on out, for all I know. But there is some big games and some big opportunities coming up for this Cowboys basketball and Steve Lutz, because you got to get it done. You got to get it done eventually. And not saying it has to be this year, but next year is going to be a big, big year for Steve Lutz.
Yeah, next year's the one that's circled, highlighted, starred, whatever you want to say. This year's the one where there's a lot of just goofy game times, like on a Saturday at 3, we play Iowa State at home upcoming year, and a lot of other weird game times we've got going on that are not really conducive to getting a ton of fans in the arena. But also, if you allow 57 points and a half in Gallagher Arena, you're probably going to take your first loss at home this season. And that's what happened last night against K-State. And just box score watching here a little bit, like, K-State is a good team, but they're not great.
If you're a tournament team, you beat K-State at home.
Yeah. And like, look, they're 0-3 in conference. They've got a game tonight as we're recording this against UCF on the 14th of January. So who knows how that turns out? If they end up in that one, is that going to change what my expectations are? Not really. But like you said, this is a make it year, but not a prove it year. Like, hey, Lutz looks like he's getting more together. Looks like this is more of a team than he wants to put together, a really fast tempo team that can really get out there and run. But hey, you get Victorious Miller back. Awesome. In last night's game, puts up 14. But also, the opponents are shooting just lights out from deep. Like every single tweet, every single mention of Oklahoma State basketball last night was Baylor's hitting every shot they've ever taken in their entire life. Like they're hitting it from
three.
It's just wild. Yeah. So granted, you always wish your teams, I always wish Oklahoma State's doing that and had better 3-point percentage and shot 40% last night. But still, if Baylor's going to put up over 55.5, like our defense has just got to be better. I mean, it's just simple, clear as day. Yeah. Do you think, like, hey, right now as it stands, like, I could see us winning again in the Big 12 tournament, or, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, I can see winning a game in the Big 12 tournament. Now, the bracket, I got to go look how they do the brackets. It's so weird now with 16 teams and all this. I just wish they did a 1 through 16 on,
Yeah. No buys.
No buys. Do a 1 through 16. Just rip the Band-Aid, get it done and over with. Because if you're the 1 seed in the Big 12, you don't have to win the Big 12 tournament. It's not going to affect your seeding whatsoever in the tournament. So you don't need a buy or anything. But yeah, I mean, I still think they're a good basketball team. I think, when their shots are falling, they can beat anybody in this conference. I mean, obviously, in Arizona or at Iowa State, those are tough. Those are tough no matter what. But, kind of outside those guys, if they're hitting their shots, they can beat anybody. And they could go on a win streak here if their offense thoughts. Really, just their defense has got to step up to the plate eventually. And Steve Lutz has called him out for it. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not losing hope in this team. I still think they can make the tournament. I'm still going to have, belief that they can make the tournament, but I am tempering my expectations. I am starting to temper my expectations. Because in December, I was getting a little irrational. And, I can jump the gun sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely, hey, we're undefeated at home. For how long? Like, how long can we keep
That's when we thought Auburn, it would be Auburn in the scrimmage, and that's when we thought they were good. I'm like, this team,
I mean, that was right after Bruce.
A&M, we thought A&M was going to be good.
Yeah. It just is an odd deal overall. So I'm hopeful. It's nice that this is a year where we play KU and Houston just once. We don't have 2 games against them, but of course we're going to play Arizona twice, and we're going to play, we're going to play BYU once. Great, but the Big 12 is never a night off, and Iowa State just killed KU last night. So pretty wild deal. Every night is a challenge for sure. The Big 12. All right. Well, lastly here, I do have a trivia question for you here before we.
Yeah, I've been thinking about what this could be.
All right, so I want to ask about football, and I do want to ask about Mike Gundy. So, do you know any guesses here? First, this is not necessarily a trivia question, but any guesses how many consecutive passes Mike Gundy had attempted without an interception as a quarterback? Of course.
Oh man, I got no idea. 65.
So 138. Mike Gundy held the record for most consecutive passes attempted without an interception at the start of a career by a freshman in D1 history with 138 until Robert Griffin III broke it in 2008. So kind of held it for several years.
Boy, Mike is a baller. Gunslinger.
Yeah, for sure. The actual trivia question is, where was Mike Gundy? What college was he coaching at before he came to Oklahoma State?
Maryland.
All right.
Baylor and Maryland.
That was too easy. Okay. All right. Well, yeah. I guess it's just well-known knowledge then.
I know my Gundy history, man. I know my Gundy history.
I don't doubt it all. All right. Well, Tyler, thanks so much here for joining on the latest episode of the CGA Tour podcast. Hopefully get you on here for a season preview for football and recap basketball.
Hey, how about this? How about if Pokes makes March Madness, we're going to do a full March Madness breakdown.
Love it. Let's get it rocking and rolling.
Yeah.
Let's get it rocking and rolling for sure. I'll have to meet up with you in person because I got to say hi to you in Oklahoma City one of these days for sure. But thanks so much for joining on the latest episode. If not already, go follow at Tyler's Takes on all social media, I assume, especially X, and follow at the CGA Tour on wherever you listen to any of your social media and wherever you get a podcast. Got you guys again soon.
Hey, Cowboy fans. Today's episode is brought to you by Oakley Burklow, your go-to independent insurance agent and proud OSU alum. Oakley helps with home, auto, life, and business insurance, working with multiple top-rated insurance companies to find you the right coverage at the right price. Licensed in Oklahoma and Arkansas. Call 918-280-9068 or email oakley.burklow@connectmyinsurance.com. Personal service, honest advice, and a fellow poke helping you protect what matters.
Cool.